This video I'm going to go over how to design the box, and so there were some requirements on Schoology, and you can see my example on there. The first thing that I usually start with, and this is how I usually start with anything in Sim, is to create our stock itself, and in this case it's going to be 2.5 by 2.5. You'll notice that the plane that I selected was your X and Y plane, and that's because eventually we're going to be modeling this, so we're going to be cutting out so that we have our X and Y plane, and we're going to be working mostly on this kind of face right here. And then the height of it is where I just extruded to make it that height. So it's 2.5 by 2.5 this particular year. You might want to check and see what the requirements are later on. Every year I find different stock, and so I have to, those requirements kind of change. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a sketch on this face, and we're going to create an offset. And to do that, we're going to project. So create, project slash include, project. And we're just going to select that right there, that face, so that we get these edges right here. And we're going to then take our project tool, bring it in, and that's going to be 0.05. And the reason we do that is we want to have a little bit of material cut off of our actual stock. That way we can account for the fact that our origin likely is not going to be exactly where our tool is placed. You're going to notice that this is a negative 0.05. I had to flip it to bring that into the inside of this shape right here. Because we're going to cut a little bit out just to make sure that something gets cut for the entire shape. From there, I'm going to finish that sketch, and we're going to have a lot of sketches, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to just cut things out for that kind of remove more and more material, so that we can kind of, in a way, simulate what could be done for our actual process. This is not the most efficient CADing modeling process, but it is one that usually results in the fewest mistakes. From there, we have the actual material that we are going to cut out of. From there, what we can do is make some changes to this. Often I'll add in a fillet. With this particular one, I'm just going to add in 2 fillets, and I'm going to make them, some certain size. And then for the other 2 edges, I'm going to show a chamfer, mostly because this example right here, I just want to show you that it's 1.5. What's possible. So you could have all 4 corners be this. They could be square. You can round them with fillets. The outer shape really doesn't matter. So having this hard edge right here is okay because it's on the outside. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to create another sketch right here, and we're going to model the inside of that part. We're going to project, use the keyboard shortcut P for that one, those edges right there. Then we're going to offset this 0.2 for our wall thickness. And then we can extrude this, and we're going to cut, and it's going to be so that we have 0.3 remaining. You'll notice maybe that this extrusion right here for the outside area was 2 inches. You can actually change that a little bit. What's important is that we have a 1/2 inch clamping boss, which I'm going to show later on, that's not moved. So if you wanted to have a taller lid and a shorter base, you could do that. It's really up to you, as long as there's a 1/2 inch in between them. The stock itself is going to be 3 inches tall, and so you'd only have so much to work with. So this is going to be a negative 2.7, or rather 1.7, to have that 0.3. If it's too small, we run the risk of cutting through when we mill off that clamping boss. So we've got that. We also then have a lip that comes out from that a little bit, and so we're going to create another sketch. We're going to place that there. We're going to project this shape right here. Then we're going to offset it so it comes out 0.1. And again, flip whatever you need to. So this should go right down the middle of that wall thickness right there. I'm going to double check before I end this. I'm actually going to project the outer shape of it as well, because it's really this area right here that we're going to cut. From there, I'm going to get back to my home view. I'm going to hit extrude. That shape was already selected. This is usually 0.1 that we cut that out. I'll make sure it's negative. And then there we have the bottom essentially done. I don't always leave this as a flat bottom. You don't need to. You can if you want. The one last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some fillets, and I'm going to want to fillet any hard edge that's on the inside. And so I'm going to go around to those two edges and then look and select those two edges as well. Additionally, we have these short edges right here and here, and then the matching ones over here that are going to, they're on the outside and it will mill just fine right there, but those are going to be matched with the lid, and so those have to be round as well. And the smallest we can work with is 0.1875, and so I made that 0.1875, and you'll notice that I rounded that area where an inner portion is going to meet with it, so it must also be rounded. And then these inner corners right here where those like on the other side of those chamfers, this doesn't need to be filleted because it already is round, so it actually is going to meet that requirement. This is the bottom of it. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to take some geometry, match it up on the what is going to be the top, and then we'll have the actual box itself. And so from here, I'm going to create a sketch on here. You guessed it, we're going to project that geometry, and it's really helpful to actually be able to see that geometry. We want to be able to cut away all of this excess right here, so we want the outside to match. We also are worried about this edge right here, and I'm just going to select this face, and then we have, as you can see, projected on over there all of these lines. And now what I need to do is think about what's going to get cut away. I want the inner part right here. I want this part to be cut away, but I actually want to have a little bit of a gap right here that here's where the bottom of the box will be, and we want to have a little bit of a gap on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the offset tool, and I'm going to select that edge and make sure that it goes 0.005. I have found is pretty close. I might even increase. I'm going to try this one, 0.007, because what that will do is it will cut a little bit extra material out from the inside of here, and we want there to be this tiny little gap, because then the wood, we don't have to sand as much to try to get those two to fit together. If they're all perfect, they won't fit together, and so this hopefully will reduce just the right amount of sanding. From there, I can extrude, and I have to make sure that I select that tiny little bit, and then everything on the inside. I always like to look at my part from an angle when I'm extruding, so I can actually tell what's going on here. And usually I do about 0.2, and I cut 0.2 in, and that leaves a 0.3 at for the top for this part. right here. So I'm going to hit OK. We lost a little bit of our sketch, so we could actually project that geometry again, or I'm just going to show that sketch again, and I'm going to create a second extrusion, that is the outer part. We're going to cut it. The distance is going to be 0.5, and I'm going to make sure I'm going in the correct direction. And so now we have, I don't want to cut that. Okay. Now we just have this, hopefully, outer edge that is cut. I'm going to hit. And so I cut the outer area right here off and left everything else. So we should have that top. I'm going to hide the sketch, and this is what it should look like. The inside could be different. Really, the only place that needs to be that deep is the interaction between this portion right here and that lip right here. If you wanted it to be, have a gap and then come up in the middle, that'd be fine too. We do really want to have that 0.3 space between that edge inside of there, like the top part of it, and the clamping boss, which is this area right here. This is 1/2 of an inch because this was 2 inches. This is 1/2 of an inch, and the whole total is 3. That is a requirement. I need 1/2 of an inch. If you wanted to move that, where you had a taller lid and a shorter base, that's totally okay. You just have to make sure that I have 1/2 inch of a clamping boss. We're gonna mill this as just like you see here, and then cut that right through the middle of the clamping boss, and we'll do a couple facing operations to get it to be totally flat.